It's a good luck sign. Okay, we are live. Hi, this is William Ramsey. Welcome to William Ramsey Investigates. On today's show, I have a very special guest, returning guest. His name is Andrew. He operates the 6G Agenda podcast. I've missed that in the past. Forgot to say agenda. We're talking the pre-show. This will be our 10th show, and I think our 4th or 5th show following this kind of Michael Aquino course of his trajectory of his life and possible influence in these murders that took place in the late 60s, right around this kind of like supposedly the birth of the age of Satan, which was announced by Rosemary's Baby. And a lot of strange things happened after the 60s. And one of them is these Zodiac murders, which are very similar to the Son of Sam murders and also the Beast of Florence murders, believe it or not, internationally, where there are young people in cars and they get attacked and savage things happen. Really savage stuff happened to them. But it led us to go watch this movie. I hadn't seen it in a while. I think I watched it when it came out in 2007, so it's been 20 years. But I've learned a lot more. I know a lot more about the stuff. So when I was watching through it, more things became noticeable and apparent to me. And there's a lot here that is in that research. And a lot of these guys are famous actors. Gyllenhaal, Robert Downey Jr., some of these other characters are pretty famous people. And there, and David Fincher, who had done Seven and Fight Club already. But, a lot of stuff Andrew saw, it's telling me that there are a lot of Easter eggs and things like that. And it's actually, I think, kind of true to the story. And I grew up in San Francisco later than that, but in the 70s and a lot of that stuff, like the back, whoever did the set pieces, this is all very accurate kind of stuff. This is pre-internet. So you had the San Francisco Examiner and the San Francisco Chronicle. We used to call it the Comical, make fun of it. But this is back when you used to deliver papers. Like, this is when the events happened. So people are sending letters, and there's famous people involved in this. I've done shows about Melvin Bell. I could do another show because it's crazy that he's involved in the Zodiac, because he's all over Jack Ruby and friends with some very interesting characters, which we can talk more about that. So Andrew, welcome back to the show.
Hey, thanks for having me back. I'm excited. Yeah. Haight-Ashbury is very close with the Jack Ruby, and then of course with all this going on with the Zodiac and the Satanic Church. So I think it's all one hub of one thing going on: mind control experiments, satanic ritual abuse, the whole deal. But yeah, piggybacking off of our last episode, we kind of touched on this theory that maybe Aquino had something to do with the Zodiac murders, or it was this satanic group, maybe not just Aquino, but a group of people. And so there's somebody named, we kind of talked about it in the after show last time, Randy Rocket Cody, who really decodes and breaks down all the little connections with this satanic cult group and the Church of Satan with the Zodiac Killer. And this guy's pretty cool. We can maybe get to it later, but first we decided, we want to kind of break down this movie and see if there's anything in it that maybe Hollywood wanted to add to it. And I was really surprised. I mean, I was trying not to have confirmation bias, but whenever they say, oh, I think the killer stole a book from the library of the Presidio military base, I go, what? And then I looked it up and it had nothing to do with the case. It's just a little Easter egg they had in there. So that kind of stuff, really popped out. And I was really excited that we actually chose to do that. So I think it's a great spot to start.
It's a long movie. It's 2 hours, 45 minutes. And
Sure
could be considered slow in a lot of ways, but I think that they were very dutiful and fastidious about covering the crimes, like each one of the crimes and the dates. So it had a real kind of in my opinion, documentary style to it.
Yes.
It wasn't a lot of flash to me, and good actors. Like, I think Robert Downey Jr. is really good, and the kind of guy is really played. The guy is Gyllenhaal plays a real guy. His name is Robert Graysmith, who wrote kind of the definitive book at the time, which sold millions of copies. It has to be up there with Helter Skelter about Zodiac. And this, until now, I think unsolved. I don't think it's really been solved. There have been a lot of like possible suspects, but the fact that it's not really solved, I think, is a huge tell, don't you think?
Absolutely. I think that recently they came out with a documentary on Netflix about this guy who's dead, and his family, is trying to tie some things to him being the Zodiac Killer. There's going to be a lot of that, but I think that it's just it's just weird, all these little connections and times that we'll go over. in this. And then on top of that, that Hollywood, as you said, kept this more of like a historical documentary kind of no fluff kind of movie, but then they add in weird things like what we're going to get into. So what is that? You know what I mean? So that's interesting to me.
Like, what's their agenda? What are they trying to do? How did this movie get produced? I think those are all important questions, but there's clearly something occult going on with this whole thing. The letters and it's very similar to the Son of Sam, like you mentioned in the pre-show. Like they actually say, "Call my name Sam,"
They name
which is
drop him.
interesting. Yeah, and it ties into that book I showed you a couple episodes before, which is, Birthing the Age of Satan, which literally was 1968 or 1969, if I remember correctly. Like Rosemary's Baby ties into that. Was like the hoping for the age of Satan. So it would make sense that this huge mind control operation, which I think Zodiac was, took place. Like it's really something else. And then nobody gets caught. Like, wow.
No, exactly. And as you said, the occult, I mean, the cryptids he used. We're talking Greek. He had naval intelligence. What was all of them? It was Greek, naval intelligence, Roman. He had all kinds of different symbols that he added in together. And the polymath kind of style that a lot of the Satanists take, because as you learn more about the satanic movement and everything, it is really a lot about the kind of a culmination in the mystery schools in a weird way, but like black magician kind of style. But it still has the idea of geometry, numerology, symbols, cryptids, and it seems that he's utilizing this with these letters he sends to the police.
Right, so it would be right in line with Crowley and all these other guys who love
Yes.
numerology and what's the word? It's like when you see these similarities between numbers and words, and they love all this stuff. It's connections and things like that. So it would be right in line with this kind of satanic psychology or worldview or mindscape or something like that. So I think
and
Zodiac
having
is
military
taunting.
I wonder how popular it was in the 60s for somebody to get a hold of without being in the military cryptids. You know what I mean? It could have been really easy. I don't know. But Aquino, we know, does have military ties. And then that being involved is kind of interesting to me as well.
Right. Well, he's tied to almost every like major like base, Presidio, Offutt, Fort Huachuca, which I'd never heard until Charlie Kirk, and also Bragg. So he's everywhere, like, and they going to like Operation Phoenix and all this other stuff. So he was not small fry. And this, like, the killings took place right around the Presidio sex scandal, is my understanding. Like, it's literally in the context of when Aquino was being investigated for running a child.
Was that closer to the 80s? Because I know this was
68.
This was 68, 69. And I know that the Satanic Panic was closer to the 80s, but I don't know. That Presidio could have been before.
Let me look it up. He was investigated. Let's see. There were tons of stuff. Let's see. This is 87 is one investigation. Okay. So I guess it's a lot earlier than. It's like 20 years earlier.
And that's how long he's in this area. 20 years he's kind of entrenched in this satanic kind of also making the Psy Wars to Mind Wars. I mean, he was making that after the Vietnam War. So that would have been all in this time too, while he's involved with the Satanic Church and meeting Anton LaVey. Zodiac murders are going on. I mean, this calling that we see with the O9A and this idea of like changing the masses' attitudes and minds by dark eugenics is very similar to what he's doing and kind of starting in the 60s and into the 80s, and making the psyops to Mind Wars kind of involves itself with that as well. It's a blueprint to it.
100%. And even the letters reflect that, right? This is the most dangerous game, and that I'm collecting slaves. Like this.
I'm so glad you brought that up. That reminds me of Henry Lucas, and that was brought up in the movie. It's the first note I have here. The collecting slaves for the afterlife, which I remember reading in David McGowan's book, that Henry Lucas's mother said that she was a satanic like ritual abuser with him, and she was saying, "I'm collecting you. You're going to be one of my slaves in the afterlife." And he ended up killing her, and etc. But I think that kind of theme crosses over to this, like you said.
Right. No, it's definitely there. I mean, the first killing was in Vallejo, which is northern Bay Area. It's really closer to Napa Valley or Napa County. but that was July 4th, 1969. So like consistent with dates of like other killings where they happen on festivals or things like that.
July 4th.
Yeah, so July 4th. Then it also features Paul Avery, who was then went on to like write a book about Patty Hearst, like he was involved in the whole Patty Hearst thing. That's 74. That's the Symbionese Liberation Army, which in my opinion was an Operation Chaos thing, much like the Chaos book kind of alleges that Manson was part of Operation Chaos. That's the title. But if you read some of these other books, and really great book is called Revolution's End, which alleges that Sinke is really a cutout. He's not very bright. And all of a sudden he comes towards these like leftist, liberal, white middle class people with this preset worldview, which is kind of extraordinary. And the guy who's kind of like running him and his runs at Berkeley is I forgot his name, but like he's like an ex. He's actually mentioned in Avery's book, but he's an ex guy from Operation Phoenix, like Aquino.
Yeah, these guys, it's all interconnected.
Yeah.
And that just goes on with the theme whenever we first did our shows in the very beginning, back in whenever I was doing that Jesper series, that this intelligence, occult, satanic kind of group trying to usher in through chaos this new age. And I think it's interesting that they mention Atlantis kind of peripherally in the movie. I think some witnesses or some individuals were kind of connected to the they kind of brought up or described Atlantis in some way that made me jot it down. But that kind of ties in with this new age of like what did Aleister Crowley call it? New Age of Horus, the Setian Age, as Aquino calls it. It's all the same thing. Atlantis, I think the new Atlantis, it's just ties right into it as well. The more that I study that kind of aspect of it.
It's kind of like making a new, kind of going back to the old days, right?
A spiritual hierarchy. Yeah, spiritual hierarchy. And that gets into Mindstar, right? Mind Wars, Mindstar. The whole series we like are exiting right now is kind of covering that we want to kind of establish what used to be this old order, with the nature gods that are kind of, we're synchronized with nature and the spiritual hierarchy over man, which really just leads to like, there's only a divine right to rule for some people and the rest are just animals.
The guy's name was Colston Westbrook or something like that, if I remember. But it was Colston Westbrook was the intelligence handler out of this hospital in between Sacramento and San Francisco, where Sinke, I forgot his real name, but he came out of. And Colston Westbrook was literally a shrink, he was African American, but a very, accomplished shrink for the Phoenix program. So he might have actually known Michael Aquino in the military. He was in the military too. So, it may be a smaller group, but like this Avery ties the Zodiac to the SLA, which they died. And when the Sinke was in this final shootout in South Central, like he had somebody went up to his head and shot him in the head. Like that's what the coroner said.
Made sure
so
to
it was
finish
like
it.
they made sure.
Execution. Yeah.
Dead men tell no tales.
Yeah, exactly. And I don't think it's possible to control man's mind without some kind of spiritual cult aspect added to it. So I think that this is intrinsically tied when we're talking about the Phoenix program, MK Ultra studies, and the military and the occult. These satanic groups that we're talking about. And so, yeah, I think that's why we see that crossover so much.
Yeah, it's DeFries. Thanks. It's Daniel DeFries, I think was his name, but Sinke. But it is an interesting attachment between Avery and Zodiac, who is this kind of guy who is really one of the central figures in Zodiac. Like he literally got sent a letter by the so-called quote Zodiac unquote killer.
That's crazy. I didn't know that.
Yeah, it's in the film. Avery's sent that letter.
I just didn't connect who he was with the Phoenix program and everything. I wasn't, making those connections. That's really crazy. Yeah.
Yeah. Let me see if I can bring up his book. This is the book that it all ties into mind control too, believe it or not, because Aquino's involved in mind control, and the whole Hearst thing, they're covered with mind control people all over the Hearst thing. And it's just the backdrop of this Operation Chaos. But this is Avery. That's his name down there, Paul Avery.
22. That's a Kabbalistic number to use right there.
It sure is. The most bizarre chapters in the history of the American left. It's because I think it was because it was totally fabricated by the government.
Right.
And what they wanted to do is malign the left. So instead of and they did this in Haight-Ashbury. So the Haight-Ashbury, if you remember, was the summer of love and everything was good. And then all of a sudden, people like Manson show and Jolly West show up, and the whole place changes into this dark meth dealing black magic thing. Yeah. So this whole thing of change against the Vietnam War suddenly takes a dark turn, and then there's a series of murders in LA. Right?
They're doing the same thing on the right now, except for it's different. It's the Christian movement instead of the love hippie movement, and it's still going into the dark occult chaos magic with the. I mean, look at it; it's the same thing.
Precisely. Yeah. They're actually infiltrating the Christian church right now, in front of our faces, and the Christian church response is obtuse and weak.
I mean, the alien thing. Yeah, I mean, come on. It's just it's dude.
They don't know they're in a hardcore spiritual battle. That's one of the first things that you have to realize if you're in the Christian church today is you are at a ruthless, cataclysmic spiritual battle of the highest order. They were going through it back then. And if you go back and look at the histories of the Haight-Ashbury, it didn't have that kind of hardcore drug element. So the LSD wasn't there yet. It was literally people against this baloney war, and LBJ, who's crazier, maybe as crazy as Trump is, but the same kind of thing was happening. So it had to be subverted on every level, cultural, physical.
Off the back of the King Kill ritual with JFK, right? I mean, that's,
Exactly. So all these people move in, and West is studying the hippies, and then things go, and then this crazed drug hippie who knows hypnotism very well follows this whole thing, and they're associated with the Process Church. And then Avery's and then this whole Zodiac starts, right? Which is like a follow-on to Manson. One of the problems is when these things get studied, they're put in different baskets. And really, it's much more challenging to layer them on top of each other as these events are happening, like Manson and Zodiac happening at the same time. And then the zebra killings. And then Avery is the tie between Avery and West are the tie between Manson chaos and Patty Hearst. Guess who interviews Patty Hearst before the trial? Jolly West.
Yeah,
John Lewis West. Who was her, I think, the defense psychiatrist for Patty Hearst. Lewis, Jolly, and West on trial.
That's crazy. And I know that she's a big mind control survivor, right?
Bro, they used every technique on her that they did in MK Ultra.
Yep.
They took her from her family. She's 19. She's suggestible. They took her in, put her in a closet, sensory deprivation, group therapy, which is really dark, not the darkest type of dark persuasion, group therapy, repetitive phrases, almost like she was in a Ewan Cameron box. And it's all in the books.
Sounds like Scientology.
Then she comes out a different character. Next thing you know, really? They literally changed her personality. They used techniques on her that were very, very successful. So part of why West having to be there was to control the whole thing and make sure people didn't understand that something much more sinister was taking place. She was just a young, hapless girl, not ran as an intel op from MK Ultra experienced CIA operatives in California running all kinds of crazy stuff. Cinque, or the Daniel DeFreeze, got let out of jail. He was much like Manson. There are very similarities where well, how did these guys get out of jail? DeFreeze should have been in jail for another 10 years. All of a sudden he walked out of a Tascadero, one of these infamous places. All this stuff is really true.
Yeah, I mean, Henry Lucas is another example. We went over that too. Bush just lets him out. Never did that for anybody else. So yeah, it's weird that these guys, Epstein too, it was above our pay grade, kind of thing.
This is one of the big reveals. Gerald Hall says it. This is true, is that A lot of people, when the Hearst thing broke, they thought it was a random pickup, but it wasn't. Patty Hearst was a leftist sympathizer from a very wealthy family, and she would go to that jail, and she was kind of like already known to these people. It was all like kept quiet. The other thing that's an interesting thing about DeFreeze as a, I guess, African American, light skinned African American, no other African American followed him. They all sniffed him out. They all sussed him out.
Yeah.
So the only people who believed his jive were these well-meaning, I think, well, in my opinion, well-meaning Berkeley leftist radicals.
Yeah, the Nepo babies always go for it, don't they?
They do. And it's like a mix of self-hating white people and
look at the
toxic empathy and a lot of stuff like that.
Look at this, Gerald. If you don't mind, put that back up. Gerald, your mom. He's got the, in the center of that is the Mind Wars symbol. I just thought that was kind of funny. As we're coming off of the Mind Wars topic, that's where he gets it from. Again, with the sacred geometry, right?
That's the universal hexagram, right?
That's where he gets it from. Of course, is that sacred geometrical kind of concept that he's got in that picture. But right in the center is the Mind Wars symbol, not by mistake.
Right, so the Grateful Dead's around, just all this stuff is happening. And it's, I mean, imagine the kind of diabolical skill of people at the top where they're layering PSYOP on top of a PSYOP on top of a PSYOP.
Oh, yeah.
Like, imagine if you're at the CIA or you're James Jesus Angleton and you've been in the freaking game, the intel game for like 30 years already. And you're like, okay, let's do a freaking Zodiac with some music over the top and get Jolly West and just lay these on the culture all at one time. And then we'll throw on some SLA stuff.
It's chaos magic at its finest. And, and again, it's ushering the new age. And I think, with the sun worship kind of pagan symbology with obviously the Zodiac symbol, with it being the Zodiac, which would get right into, again, this idea of like this pagan kind of concept, which is really, I think, what a lot of the satanic church and a lot of this kind of leads into is very much, you could call it an inversion of it, but it is the same principles of the pagan gods.
That's kind of what one of the chief takeaways of this discussion about it, is how similar they're kind of, even these satanic gurus, they all kind of they're rehashing same stuff. Once you realize it, what they're saying, they're not kind of coming up, it's the same old toothpaste in the same old tube.
That's why I don't trust the New Age movement. As nice as some of the New Age movement is like, you got to get one with, yourself and nature. It sounds great, but it's the same ideology, whether inverted or not. So I don't think you should follow it. I don't think that inversion principle really matters that much.
Yeah. It's interesting. They asked the question of a Satanist at the 25-minute mark. There's like David Tosky, so the cop is really important element to the whole thing.
Yeah, Robert Downey Jr. has an Anton LaVey kind of style, kind of mustache to him, kind of vibe. I thought that was funny.
Does. He was quite the character. Apparently, he was a heavy drug user and day drinker and stuff like that. So, even the outfit of the Zodiac is occulted. Like it's
black robe, like a black mass looking. I just wonder, because you can't look up the. I'm sure I could find it if I really got into it, but I wonder if Michael Aquino drove a red Mustang.
I would wonder. I think that's a good question.
Because that was the first car that pulled up. It was that red Mustang. And then later it was a different car, almost to indicate that there was a different killer. Did you notice that? Like, they used multiple cars whenever the killer was driving by. So the first one was that red kind of Mustang 68, 69. And they had another one later. It was just kind of like a kind of fat kind of boat, kind of Lincoln style car. And it seems to kind of point to a couple different killers as it goes. And we'll get to it towards the end where the basement scene and the whole movie, the guy that had all the movies in the basement.
I mean, it's the same thing as Son of Sam. Like, I mean, everything points to multiple killers at multiple times in multiple places. It's just no question about it.
I guess there was a yellow Volkswagen too, Pam. I might have missed that one, but see, that's what I mean. Like, why have all these different cars unless you're trying to indicate, a little bit of the Easter eggs were throughout that movie pretty well. Kate Ashbury clinic patient, but unable to verify it.
Who
Oh,
was?
wow.
Who was?
Yeah, who's he?
Was he?
Oh, Dan
Oh,
White,
Dan
Stone
White.
Cold Killer.
Yeah. Well, if he was there, he was in the hands of some pretty devious freaking people.
Yeah.
No question about that. I'm trying to find the Graysmith book. There's like Graysmith kind of made his career after, the Zodiac thing. Like his book sold so many copies and stuff.
Yeah, while you're looking up that, we mentioned this. During the phone call, after the Blue Rock Spring killing, I guess. The caller, he calls in and he calls himself Sam, and that just indicates that kind of son of Sam kind of concept. And then this, as you mentioned a minute ago, the satanic question was mentioned not too far after that or before that.
Right. Let's see. I had this thing down, but in a different computer. Yeah, there's just a lot in this. I mean, it's like I said earlier, it's a pretty long film. Melvin Belli's in here, so Melvin Belli's another character with a long history. Going back to Jack Ruby, he was Jack Ruby's attorney. He was a civil attorney, guys, in a criminal case, like brought in from California. Like, it doesn't make any sense. Like, he didn't even get a criminal attorney. Why would you put Melvin Belli from California in a Texas case, in a criminal case, who's a civil attorney, unless you wanted it fixed? And Belli had mob connections. He had a lot of mob friends, and some of his best friends were very sketchy.
Get the fuck. I'm so sorry. Go ahead, finish.
Yeah.
Dude, look at the comment you just got.
What's that? Ghost Rides?
Ghost Rides. Lieutenant Michael Aquino details his 1966 Ford Mustang, originally white, which he custom painted candy apple red with a black interior, framing it as a major piece of his life. Shut up. Dude, that's insane. Thank you, Gerald. Holy shit. Well, so that car and the fact that at one point the movie just decides for no reason to add in the investigation that they were looking at leads at the military facilities because they thought that there was the Presidio Library had books stolen from it. That was just completely added into the movie because I looked it up. It wasn't part of the investigation. So that to me was a big smoking gun. And the car I couldn't verify at the time, but now that it has been kind of verified, I mean, that's insane. It was red. It was dark that night whenever he pulled up, but it was a red Mustang. Man, that's wild. Good find, Gerald. Yeah, man. That's they were definitely laying it down. But at the end, we'll get to it with the Kenneth Anger situation. There's a guy who has all these movies in a basement, and he goes there and he kind of goes, because a part of the movie in the beginning, they mention how the killer has a basement in his house. And they're like, well, there's no basements in California, or at least not many. And so when he goes to this guy's house towards the end, he's like, hey, come in the basement. I'll show you. And I guess the killer worked for him at his movie theater, he said. And so he comes down and then he kind of realizes that this guy's got to be the killer. And this dude looks just like Kenneth Anger. I'll pull it up while you do that. But the actor in the movie and Kenneth Anger, if you put them next to each other, identical.
Really?
Yes.
Interesting. I wonder where I could find that clip.
I'm looking up basement scene Zodiac. And I have it right here.
Can you put it in the show notes?
I can. Hold on here. Copy. I'll put it in private chat.
Sure.
There you go. All right. And then I'll get a picture of Kenneth Anger up. Unless you got one already, probably. Cool. You got it? You got it?
Wow, that's pretty wild. I don't know. I don't know if I can play that without getting a strike. I've gotten copyright strikes. He does look like Kenneth Anger, that's for sure.
Doesn't he? He's got the
He
long
does.
hair. He's got that facial structure as well. Like they did a great job with that.
Yeah, they did.
Man. And so it's got this aspect of there's more than one killer because then check this out. He's in the basement and there's noise upstairs. And he goes, who else is here? Is there somebody else here? And then he like keeps talking about something else. He's like, yo, who's upstairs? And then he runs out of the house eventually. So there's this idea of like there's more than one person in the house, more than one killer, possibly this satanic, cult, that's doing this that we're kind of alluding to.
Perfect sense. Wasn't one done on Halloween, or there's some kind of Halloween tie into this whole
I think you're right. Yeah, there was one on Halloween.
So that's another occult tie.
Oh, yeah.
The public's terrified, so the whole city's in terror. And then they make this interesting point, like more people died on the road in 1 week than the Zodiac is killed. So they make this point like this is definitely maximizing psychological power, much like Sons of Sam. Yes. Which, New York at that time was super violent. So I think something similar like this is happening where it's like the amount of like psychological warfare potency is off the charts.
Well, I forgot to mention, oh yeah, ladies, shout out to Super Chat. We got Scorpio Rising. So that's a movie that was made by Kenneth Anger. And there's something in the book or in the movie, Scorpio Killer, in the Zodiac movie. And that was like the movie that the guy that he was trying to show.
Harry, right? Dirty Harry.
Yeah. And he was trying to show him that copy or whatever downstairs. I guess it was of Scorpio Killer. And then the real guy, Kenneth Anger, made Scorpio Rising in real life. So that kind of crossovers a little bit there too in that scene.
Sure, is Scorpio is linked to sex, death, and rebellion. So it's like one of those like zodiac signs that's violent. So yeah, it makes perfect sense.
Exactly. And again, with the satanic cult and the pagan kind of zodiac astrology kind of aspect, it all ties in because whenever you read Mindstar, like we did, we talked about the netter and how the netter nature is really what like these gods are essentially, which would be represented by astrological signs. And if they worship the sun god and astrological signs, then they worship nature. And then that's where you get this idea of taking nature and transmuting it through magical principles. And that's like all this is. It's really pretty simple when we boil it down to that.
What do you think about that last hour where like they meet up, Tashi meets Graysmith. Graysmith goes and sees Avery, and then he sees Tosky, and then they're like, hey, did this guy know Darlene, right? She got some kind of mocking call, right? Like, I know you and blah, blah, blah. So
yes,
it would insinuate, or you could deduce that the killer knew her, which makes it non-random killing, right?
Right. These are targeted killings. And to that point, there was one person that you had mentioned that maybe fringe theory, but possibly was connected to a witness scenario with an assassination with RFK, right? Was it RFK?
Right. Yeah. This book is called Project Artichoke. And that's what the whole thing is like talking about this connection and that it's about Zodiac and all these other people doing it. And it's actually interesting because kind of one of the main characters in this is another mind control, not West, but mind control guy, William Joseph Bryan Jr., who's close friends with Belli. Like he knows Belli personally. And Belli invited him to some of his meetings and things. And Belli trained at his hypnotist center in LA of all places. So there's weird overlaps between Belli and Bailey, who was the attorney for Hearst, who Bailey had close personal friendships with William Joseph Bryan, and there's connections to Sirhan, and it's just a weird overlap. Yeah.
Yep. And that's that whole mind control assassin military occult group. That's insane.
Absolutely. And where did William Bryan live? He was in the East Bay. Where did these like killings happen? In the East Bay. Like Vallejo is like up there. Like literally, I can pull a map up and show you where Brian lived and where the East Bay was. And Brian is like, I mean, according to Todd Wood, Brian is like the Grand Chingon, like a Satanist and mind controller, which would make perfect sense.
Exactly. Because they're hand in hand.
Right.
You know, and that big dude that they thought was the killer that ended up being the killer at the end, he gave me John Wayne Gacy vibes a little bit. So I looked up like just to see maybe if there was any John Wayne Gacy connection. So there was this weird thing where this girl, through the John Wayne Gacy case, they were able to solve a case that happened in the Haight-Ashbury area. A woman who died in Haight-Ashbury that ran away from Chicago right around the area he was in. So they thought maybe that he killed her. It got ruled out that he killed her because she got killed in Haight-Ashbury by somebody else. But it's this weird, like, what are the odds that this girl happened to go to Haight-Ashbury where there's other killers from where this killer was and get killed?
Very small.
Very small.
There were other occult killings that happened in Haight-Ashbury around that time, if I remember correctly. But Bart says if Melvin Belli was a CIA asset, could a FOI request? I don't know. But sometimes these FOI requests do show a lot of stuff that they didn't redact. But he didn't represent Patty Hearst. Belli represented Jack Ruby in 63 or 64 and came out from California. And then he's in this film. Like they're calling him at his home. He has weird art in the background. He's being secreted around. And I don't know if James Jesus Angleton was in contact with him or not. I don't have any idea. But Belli is a really interesting character. I've done a show on him with Mark Shaw. You can check that out.
I'm sending you another thing here. Just
link?
There you go. And I sent that to you too, because we could pull that up if you want to. But that's just like if the chat wants it for later. This guy's website, kind of wild guy here. I don't know exactly. We could kind of, if you want.
He's done a lot of research. Like, look at this.
Oh yeah,
Zodiac solved. There's our friend
and
Aquino.
He's got a bunch of blogs within this huge page. Like it's got all kinds of blogs. So I don't know exactly which one leads to his actual breakdown, but one of these was a full breakdown I found online. It's just hard to find it in his website. It's not the easiest to navigate.
This is Zodiac killer case, ritualistic psychological operation orchestrated by Michael Aquino. Killings were part of a broader agenda involving fear manipulation and child trafficking, supported by evidence of coded messages, ritualistic signatures. Well, let's see if I can get this paper.
Yeah.
I don't know if you can.
Yeah, he's got all kinds of satanic. The Metal Den is another one where they have all kinds of breakdowns of like how these groups all come together, and then rock groups too. Like they add in like that as well. It's kind of because they are a rock group, I guess. This dude used to like play guitar or something.
Interesting. I should reach out to this guy. I mean, he seems to be still active. Has he posted anything recently? This is from 2025.
Oh yeah, this is recent. Maybe that's why it doesn't have the full breakdown. Let me see if I can find. He's probably got more than one.
This is May 31st, so this is very recent. Antichrist and Bimbo releases.
Oh yeah. The Zodiac Killer, 6 Degrees of Michael Aquino. February 16th, 2025. He did this one. Oh, here, this is a good one. Okay, there we go. Here, I'm going to send this to you. So he's got a bunch in here within this thing that you just search Aquino and you can find all kinds of other blogs he has. I just sent you one there that's got a really good breakdown, it seems, where he connects the Setian ideology with the Zodiac stuff. Oh, yeah, this is a big breakdown.
This is all Graysmith's book.
Oh, yeah.
Somebody wrote this about his, I guess. By Bookie. Six Degrees of Michael Aquino.
That one's good. We should get into it. That one's got a lot in it.
Yeah, there's the thing.
Talks about, despite the fact that I found out he was allowed military leave during the Vietnam War to come back to California to attend a Church of Satan meeting in San Francisco at the Black House. So I looked up if he was in the military during these killings. I didn't know he was allowed to come back. So even though he was in the military and in Vietnam, he was able to come back. So it really kind of throws out the idea of his alibi. So during this time, you had the Zodiac killings going on, and he talks about the Zodiac signs were originally instituted by Adam, Seth, and Enoch before the flood. Their meaning was transmitted by Noah, who preserved it. Now, this gets into some ancient shit. The ancients called Adam's son Agathomadaemon. It was equated to Osiris, and Osiris was believed to be represented by the Zodiac by the sign of Taurus. The Hermetic literature states that Agathomadaemon is the biblical patriarch Seth. It was identified with Zeus, depicted as a serpent. He learned that Zeus was secret identity of Satan. Himmler in the Third Reich specifically had the throne of Zeus. Oh, by the way, this dude used a dagger, and I'm pretty sure that when I looked up the dagger that was used, it was a military-grade dagger, first of all. And you said that he had a Nazi dagger, a double-sided kind of Nazi dagger, and it's very similar in size and in shape, I believe, to what was used. I'm not entirely sure, though. Definitely a military dagger, though.
Yeah, there's pictures of him with this like Nazi dagger somewhere. Let's see if I can find it. There's the Black House right there. This is notorious.
Yeah, so this is a great breakdown there if you guys want to look, because it gets into all the details, at least that you can find, about how this guy could have been connected to. Because through his symbology of the Setian philosophy, the Satanic Church, his connection to the Presidio satanic ritual abuses that were going on, it's pretty easy to assume once you get to the Zodiac, symbology that there's something there. Yeah, this guy kills it.
Darlene Farron had satanic materials in her home. She lived in the same building as Paul Stein. Make sense. So they're both killed in different spots, but then they're in the same building.
Wow. And she had the satanic stuff in there. Crazy. Johnny Gosh. What did Johnny Gosh have?
Yeah, Arliss Perry.
Oh, yeah. Paul Bonacci is the young man who said under oath that Aquino was the man behind the child abductions, including the never-solved disappearance of Johnny Gosh, the newspaper boy. Isn't that like the original milk carton? Like, you know, yeah. Wow. This dude has a lot of stuff on like Frazzle Drip and all that too. I was kind of at one point kind of getting through his other stuff on here, and yeah, dude, he apparently, they sell like images on the dark web of that video and shit. Like
video what?
The Frazzle Drip video. Apparently, like apparently it's because I didn't know how real it was. I mean, of course, there's an idea that it could be real. Can
you hear the audio in this?
Yeah. Actually, no.
You can't?
I thought I did.
Let's try it
again.
Yeah. Which we may use in our rituals.
That's good.
This one happens to belong to the commanding general of the most elite unit of Germany's infamous SS, which was concerned with black magic and occultism research in general. Anything that it could find that had to do with the origins of the human race, destiny of humanity.
The perverted view of the occult held by Heinrich Himmler was of an evil magic that could help create a new master race. Wewelsburg Castle is where he performed his ceremonies.
I have been to the Wewelsburg, which still preserves Heinrich Himmler's ritual chambers to this day, and have conducted a black magical ritual in the so-called Hall of the Dead beneath the Wewelsburg.
Wow. What the hell do you think he was doing down there?
Not good stuff.
Oh my.
Yeah. What do you think the Nazis were doing down there?
Yeah,
Himmler was a member of the Knights of Malta too.
Really?
Yeah.
Man, no wonder Peter Thiel's going to Argentina and applied for Malta for citizenship as well.
Yeah,
it's just weird how he's from Germany and Frankfurt as well. And these guys, man, these next generation, it's so crazy how it all is just
they'll jump from jurisdiction to jurisdiction.
Mm-hmm. It's the same group, it hasn't left. I wonder if Zodiac's alive, if Michael Aquino's alive, because this guy's big thing is that Michael Aquino's still alive, and that when he came out with this, apparently he thinks Aquino faked his death.
there is a death notice that he shot himself in the head. Maybe it's not true, but I think it had the right address. He was on California Street in San Francisco somewhere.
Mm.
So your guess is as good as mine. I don't know. Do you honestly really think he's alive? I mean, he's old. He was old, 72 or something.
Oh, I don't necessarily, but this guy thinks that he is. I just, I haven't looked deep enough into why he thinks so, though. As the story goes, Satan-thumping Vietnam veteran and MKUltra programmer for the CIA was the person who was in charge of not only the finders, but also terrorized kids at his home with the help of his wife Lilith Aquino, while operating his own demonic church called the Temple of Set. He is able to control the resources of the NSA, which includes but is not limited to phone, email tapping. See, I remember seeing all this, and he talks about elf wave and electromagnetic brain manipulation, which is literally stuff that Aquino talked about in his book. And then he talks about occult investigator Max Spires was found dead on a sofa in Poland in 2016 on my birthday, July 16th, after allegedly vomiting a mysterious black fluid shortly after he had uncovered evidence of an elite pedophile ring that connected Aquino to the Pizzagate ring that he believed is responsible for the murdering late rock star Chris Cornell, Chester Bennington. And according to online researcher Titus Frost, this guy's the only journalist who forensically proved that Chris and Chester were murdered by way of latch theory, where he proved Detroit PD covered up all the true forensic evidence.
Wow.
So this guy is like deep, and I think the whole artist being connected to this got his interest really deep into it. But yeah, this is crazy.
Covered up by like the PD is like, I'm not surprised.
He gets into the Order of the Trapezoid, he gets in all kinds. I mean, he goes through the depths of Aquino. It's crazy.
Definitely networked. There's absolutely no question about it. Totally networked.
He started the Order of the Trapezoid in 1982. Some of them match the Zodiac crime scenes, the geometric symbolism. Obviously, he was protected by the government. So there's a lot of like weird stuff with this where it's like, man, all the unsolved murders maybe do have to do with one person. I mean, think about how good we are at solving murders, where it's almost like, I mean, this is what they did. They're pretty good at it for the most part, So.
Right. What else you got? I know you got to take off pretty soon. I mean, I think it's a good movie. I enjoyed rewatching it. I would recommend it. It kind of goes through the killings in a very meticulous way. But
not many Gyllenhaal movies that I don't like, dude. That guy's a good actor. Robert Downey, same thing. Another good movie that Robert Downey's in that kind of connects to this that we're talking about is Natural Born Killers. Right? He's the journalist, and then you got this chick who's being abused by her dad, and she seems to be the guy who made the movie said that this was a movie about two people that are demonically possessed. It's Oliver Stone, right? And Sean Stone brings up the movie on Tucker Carlson recently. That kind of brought it to mind. But it's very similar with this kind of
1994, right?
Satanic ritual abuse, murder kind of concept there.
Right. Traumatized as children makes perfect sense. Story by Quentin Tarantino.
Yeah, when you watch it, it's one of those acid trip kind of movies, where there's just random scenes in the background that have nothing to do with the real landscape of where they're at. It's just like, random shit. And it reminds me a lot of like Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas, where they have the adrenochrome scene in. So there's a lot of this kind of like acid trip kind of movies that come out later, which I think are getting made by this group almost, where they're kind of displaying some of their stuff in a weird way.
Yeah, I think you're right.
Yeah, definitely good stuff, man. We could plan another one soon. And I think, there's only so much you could do with the Zodiac connections in Aquino, but I think that it definitely does.
There's something strange. There's an underbelly there, and like the involvement of these other like mind control people around, and William Joseph Bryan and Avery's connection to these two events.
Yeah,
and
that
just
was
the Operation
crazy.
Chaos is really crazy. It's really there.
The whole Phoenix, Patty Hearst, and the dude, like all that, that shocked me. I didn't know all that. So yeah, there's so many layers to it. I think
Layers
that
to it.
we probably get a lot of the answers to this through researching the other stuff we've been looking at. That the finders, the 09A, all these things.
Yeah, the things are similar. This guy right here. So you brought up Rocket Randy Coney before we leave. This one's interesting because this guy said his name is Voight. I don't know. I've never contacted him. I should reach out to him. Said he has 500 million downloads on this website since 1998. It's huge.
Wow.
But he has some of Avery's, played by Robert Downey Jr., some of Avery's papers.
No
And
shit.
he's put them up about Zodiac. Yes, this is the guy.
Yeah, put that link up. We'll get that link to me. I'll put it in the description for the show as well. We'll get a few of all these links that we've been doing because these are good. This is good
I'll private
information.
chat that stuff.
People to look at.
I don't know if this guy does interviews, but I'll send some out to him.
Perfect.
I would like to know where the rest of Avery's papers are.
They
Yeah.
probably they made sure that was gone. I'm sure that
These guys
that
have
be-
valuable papers that are missing or aren't found or not. They're not like taken care of, and like there's enough like serious research people in the research community who would love to look through all those.
oh,
Like
yeah,
they're priceless because some of these guys, that's how you didn't have a hard drive. You had to actually like have paper copies of stuff back then. So some of that stuff is priceless.
oh, I bet. And I prefer to have the physical because I just anticipate one day that all the stuff that we do have right now is not going to be around.
It's also going to be faked, AI'd, or it's not
Yes.
going to be authentic.
Yes.
So I think that really the advent of AI will create this kind of counter value system of authentic things. So like
Oh, yeah.
all these old pictures and all these old things are actually not be thrown into like the waste bin. They'll become more valuable. So things that you may think are scrap right now or your hard drive, like, oh, this is just some research. It might be invaluable because it sets a time and date of certain things that AI could easily fake. And so they're already seeing people parse through stuff like what's real, what's fake. So,
Yeah, I mean, if you want to fight the attack on your imaginative and conceptual thinking, then do analog stuff because that's the only way to fight it. Like I try to read actual books and take actual notes only because literally just because I don't want to I feel myself losing my brain. They want your brain to be a black abyss of nothing.
yeah, they do.
Where you just
That's
got
right.
nothing in there at all times. There's no thoughts coming to your head. And I feel like the only way to really get there is reading and writing and getting that conceptual kind of thinking going on. And so that's the only way to fight it, dude.
For certain. Everybody, thanks for listening. Everybody, check out 6G Agenda podcast. Where can people find you or reach out to you if you have any questions?
Yeah, 6G Agenda pod at gmail.com if you want to reach out to the show. Otherwise, you can find us anywhere you get your platform, 6G Agenda. We've got YouTube, Patreon. We go live on YouTube a lot every weekend, and you can catch us there for the latest and greatest. But otherwise, thank you very much, and I'll see you soon, William.
Yeah, thanks, Andrew. Till
Shout out
next
chat.
time. Yeah. Hi, chat. Thanks, everybody. Thanks for all the comments. And again, we covered Zodiac, the film, and it's Andrew of the 6G Agenda podcast. Thanks so much. Really appreciate it.
Later.
All right, later. All right, man. I'll let you go. I know you got to run out.